Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for your daily dose of the roars as we talk about the very stupid stuff going on in the world of technology. Do you remember I do these videos in order to fund silicondojo.com, free hands-on technology education in Durham, North Carolina? We might be coming back to Asheville too. These are actually hands-on classes. You come, you learn, hopefully you get a bit empowered. Next week we're going to be doing a class on AI computer vision using something called the Moondream model. In the beginning of January, we're going to have a class on pushing AI to the edge using Raspberry Pis. We have more classes coming down the pike. Take a look at silicondojo.com to see what our current schedule is. And if you want to help support free education, there is a donor box link down below. And yeah. It's weird with these topics in the technology world, right? Some people I'll be talking about Trump a lot, and they're like, Eli, why do you have TDS? Why are you talking about Trump a lot? And it's simply because Trump is in the news a lot. And then I'll be talking about space-based data centers. Oh God, so many fucking articles about those damn things. Anyways, why am I talking about that so much? Because that's in the cycle. It's been kind of curious over the past couple of weeks. The whole China thing has gotten out of the news cycle. But don't worry. It's coming back. It's coming back full force. Stupider than ever. And I think this is an interesting story because it kind of just shows you that China's rather fucked no matter what they do. And this is one of my big arguments with this whole Western world versus China thing, is I'm not sure they can do anything to get out of this mess, right? It's weird. I've talked about that before where, with Putin and Russia, the Western world bends over backwards, right? To try to make sure all of the Russians know and all of that we respect them and they're okay. It's only Putin we have a problem with, right? Like Putin literally fucking invaded Ukraine. We are sending weapons to defend Ukraine, and people keep talking about creating golden bridges so that Putin feels comfortable to retreat from his war in Ukraine. Which, again, whether that makes sense or not, I really want you to think about the optics of that, right? Putin invades Ukraine, murders civilians, targets civilian infrastructure, all of this kind of stuff, and the Western world is, hey, well, we gotta make sure his bridges are made of gold, so maybe he'll go back home. Right? And then you juxtapose that to Xi and to China, where we're basically just like, fuck you, there's nothing you can fucking do. If you don't want to deal with our wrath, you shouldn't have been born a Chinaman, right? And that's what I look at like right now, again, with trade policy and so many other things. One of the questions that I have as an American citizen is what do we want out of China? Like what does a win look like for us? Like if Xi is not, but if Xi was going to kowtow, what do we actually want Xi to agree to? And the funny thing is, I don't think we know, right? We know that China man is bad. And we kind of stop there. And I bring this up because in France now, right, Huawei was investing in Europe. So this is one factory. Maybe they have more investments coming online. But basically, Huawei was investing in Europe, right? That's one of the big things, right? Bringing stuff back onto shore, reshoring things like manufacturing, high-tech manufacturing, right? That type of thing. So basically, Huawei builds this $300 million factory in France to employ French people to build technology on French soil, and everything is going to such a degree of hell. Basically, now that thing has been built, it looks like it will not even be used, right? So even when Huawei builds the factory in France to be staffed by the French to support the European market, even that. What don't you understand about this situation, dear Chinaman? And like I say, this is where I think this is all just again, it's a dog and pony show. It is simply wrapping up abject fucking racism, right? The idea, and you hear it, right? China can only copy, they can't create, right? It's wrapping all of that propagandic, jingoistic, racist horse crap into into the robes of a legal framework or whatever else. We're not doing this because we haven't gotten over our colonial past. We're doing this because, well, we'll get to that later. And that's where I wonder again how, even if China wanted to, and I'm not even saying China wants to. I'm not even saying China wants to be clear here. But even if they did want to get out of this mess, like how do they get out of this mess? Anyways, this is actually coming from Reuters. Huawei weighs French factory's future in tough European market, sources say. Yeah, it's a tough market when everybody's telling you, China man, go home. Wow, this market's kind of harsh. Yes, it is. Paris, December 10th. Huawei is considering the future of a recently completed plant in eastern France. So notice this. This is a plant that they built that is new. This was not purchased from somebody else. This was not acquired. They built a new plant to produce high-tech equipment in France. Three people familiar with the matter said, amid the slow rollout of 5G in Europe and a hardening stance by some governments on using Chinese equipment. And this is the other thing to be thinking about too, again, with a global supply chain. What is quote unquote Chinese? What is American? What is French? Right? So they're building this on your territory. They have shored this within your national boundaries, but it's still Chinese. Let's see here. Completed in September, so just completed a couple months ago, the facility about 20 kilometers north of Strasbourg remains empty, and Huawei appears undecided on whether to proceed with the plant, its first in Europe. So this was their first plant. Like, look, we made all this money. We become the biggest networking company in the world. Let's start building factories, in the rest of the world. And yeah, this is the reception that they're getting. Two local officials and a senior business executive told Reuters. Huawei, which did not respond to requests for comment, said 5 years ago it would invest 200 million euros, so $233 million, to manufacture wireless base station equipment for European telecoms operators, creating up to 500 jobs. However, Europe is now taking a tougher line on trade with China. But it would be manufactured in France. With German Chancellor Friedrich Merz recently appointing an expert commission to rethink trade policy towards Beijing and banning the use of Chinese components from future 6G networks. When Huawei first announced the plant, the United States was warning its European allies against allowing Chinese company into the continent's 5G infrastructure. A local politician who participated in a meeting with Huawei in early November said all options for the 52,000 square meter factory are on the table. So that's like 150,000 square feet factory. That's a pretty decent size, but did not elaborate. They could include a sale, said a business official briefed on the matter, adding that several industrial groups had recently toured the site. Oh my God. You mean you might be generous enough to steal a factory from a Chinaman. You might have a Chinaman build a world-class factory in your country, and then once they complete it, oops, it's no longer a good business environment for them to continue owning that factory. So you'll take it off their hands. I'm sure, at a reasonable discount, since it's so hard for you to have to do this. It would be funny if it wasn't true. It's still funny. Still funny. I mean, colonialism dies hard. A senior executive who visited the site with staff said they're understanding that Huawei is unlikely to use it. Once we made the environment so toxic that Huawei was unable to understand a business rationale for moving forward, oops, it doesn't look like they'll use it. A previously agreed subsidy of 800,000 euros from the Grand Establishment government has been canceled due to a lack of clarity over the project. An official at the region's headquarters said, quote, "We seek to attract Chinese investment to France while fully respecting our sovereignty." And this is one of those curious things too. Like we want Chinese investment as long as they jump through the right hoops. Regarding telecommunications and strategic communications, we believe these matters fall under national security. Therefore, it is logical that we implement controls in this area, hence Huawei's situation in France, a source in the French presidential office said. Huawei currently has an estimated 35 to 40% market share of installed 4G and 5G equipment in Europe, making it one of the top suppliers. But growth has been slower than expected, and some European governments are hardening their stance on Chinese equipment. Mayors last month confirmed that Germany will replace Huawei components in its core 5G network next year. Quote, "They had a lot of ambition with good products. Then there were security concerns that slowed down their ambition." And notice this, it's always concerns. It's always concerns. It's always possibilities. It's always maybes. I mean, can you trust a Chinaman in your neighborhood? I'm not saying the Chinaman is gonna burgle your house. I'm not saying the Chinaman is gonna rape your daughters. I'm not saying the Chinaman is gonna do any of these things. But you got to agree with me. It's a possibility. And can you risk that in your neighborhood? So yeah. So this is the latest thing going on with the whole West versus China, and what is going on? Where, dear mommy, dear daddy politicians, where are we going? When do you think we're gonna get there? Inquiring minds would like to know. And so this is going to be an interesting question, right? So right now, apparently, China has topped $1 trillion in trade surplus, right? Basically trading $1 trillion, selling $1 trillion more to the world than it has purchased. So it is running into a functional problem of basically getting in too much money. Right? When you're bringing in that much money, that actually creates instability in the markets that you're trying to sell to, which is not a good thing. Right? And so one of the big things is changing the trade imbalance, changing the flow of things like intellectual property and knowledge and all of that kind of stuff. And the weird thing that we're now getting is in this time period, you would think that these countries would want to see more investment from China into these countries is the exact same time the walls are going up. So the question really becomes, again, what does China do? Look, there is too much of a trade imbalance. We're buying too much from mainland China. You have to solve that problem. Okay, we are going to build brand new factories on your territory to supply goods. Well, yeah, we don't like that option either. And again, you get to the end of the day, like what is the out for China here? What is going on here other than we have been informed that China is the enemy, ergo we have to shut them down wherever we can, right? I don't, where are the rules? Where are the regulations? I talk about that in the United States, right? The whole thing with TikTok, right? I am completely for bans on social media companies being able to sell our private information, even in an anonymized fashion, whether it be TikTok or whether it be Facebook. But again, we're not getting that rule and regulation. TikTok is an existential enemy, but folks in Asia can buy records about our active duty service people for 15 cents a pop. They can buy records for the family members of our active duty service people. And yeah, that's okay for some reason, buying that en masse. But again, TikTok, is China understanding how our 13-year-olds twerk. That's just a fucking bridge too far, right? Again, we're not seeing, rules and regulations. I was talking about this in a previous video. Porsche. So in Russia, Porsches are now no longer working. Like literally, not even can you not turn them on. Many times you can't even get into the car. Why? Because the Porsches apparently have to phone home to a satellite as far as a security system that's supposed to be seamless, right? Because of stuff going on with Russia, it appears satellite is no longer sending the proper communications down, and all of a sudden, these Porsches no longer function. So, right, this isn't really about Porsche. It's not really about Germany. It's not even about China, right? There should be solid regulations on the books that state basic functionality in automobiles cannot be tied to a phone home function, right? That should just be a law of the land. But we don't get those laws. We don't get the rule of law. We don't get standardized intelligent regulation. What do we get? China man bad. And that's, again, and so this is gonna keep going, and where we go with it, I don't know. So what do you think about this? What do you think about Huawei building a brand new factory in France? Literally finished building this goddamn thing in September, and France is now becoming such a toxic environment, it doesn't even look like they'll power the damn thing on. And French business people are looking to take it off of Huawei's hands at a reasonable price point. I don't know. Is colonialism a virus? Is colonialism like malaria? Even when you think you've recovered, it might pop back again in 20 years or so. I mean, when you look at this, like, I don't know. Is there anything that China can do that the West would find acceptable? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. Do remember I do these videos in order to support silicondojo.com. Free hands-on technology education in Durham, North Carolina, and hopefully coming back to Asheville, North Carolina relatively soon. Take a look at our class schedule at silicondojo.com. We have a class coming up on AI computer vision using something called the Moondream model. We have another class coming up on pushing AI to the edge using Raspberry Pis. If you want to help support Silicon Dojo, there is a donor box link down below. And with that, see y'all later.